Hi, this is the week after Purim 5783 in Israel. I want to briefly share some thoughts on weekly or semi-weekly current events. So this week and last week and the weeks before, there is discussion in the Knesset about judicial reforming some of the ways the judicial system works, the courts, appointment of judges, and specifically, or importantly, how the Knesset and the Supreme Court are respectively empowered to cancel or create legislation. What is known as, of course, judicial review, meaning that the Supreme Court, as in America, for example, the Supreme Court has the ability to say that a law is unconstitutional, which in recent decades, the Supreme Court, based on a basic law that was passed in 1993 or two, I'm not sure, has tried to do in certain cases using one of the basic laws as a pretext, not a pretext, as a support to annul legislation. So I'm happy these issues are being addressed. I think it's important that these things be worked out. In general, what I don't like about the current attempt is that it's similar to many other attempts from other governments, simply to do important things without actually talking about them and deciding together what we're going to do, which is what democracy is supposed to be about. For example, I saw recently in a newspaper that I don't know who it was, or it was the president or one of the political parties. They said, let's meet again at the president's house and the opposition can submit more ideas. I don't understand why they have to meet the president's house, like it's some sort of local feuding clans or something. We have a Knesset, we have a parliament. It seems that any and all debates should be taking place in the parliament. But I do think it's important. I don't think it's wise to have a so-called override clause that a parliament, a Knesset, can simply override a veto of the Supreme Court, because then you could have all types of crazy things being passed by courts. I think it's important that you have a court that can say things are wrong, but the thing is we have to decide together what those things are, which we are going to say are wrong, and that any government can pass laws that violate them. As basic starters, there's those civil liberties which are enshrined in the American Bill of Rights. Here in Paul Eiderberg's book about how to maybe make a constitution, he does some possible examples, and I think these are basic things which most people, if not all people in Israeli society, would agree on. For example, all residents of Israel will be guaranteed freedom of religion and freedom of speech and press. All residents of Israel shall have the right to establish their own religious and educational institutions, etc. No resident of Israel should be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or due process of law. Right? The famous due process clause from the American Constitution. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to counsel, to a speedy and public trial, to be informed of the accusation for which he has been charged, to be confronted by witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. 9. The rights of all residents of Israel to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, etc. So, some of the basic civil rights that we believe in: freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, right to privacy, not to have your things seized. I can't imagine that it'd be hard to come to a consensus on those things. So, and this is a question of talking it out, not pushing it to this whole idea of, we have 61, we have 62, we have 63 out of 120 votes in the parliament, therefore we'll push through our ideas when it's such a major thing, and it's just not, what's the word? It's not good manners. It's not the way to do things, because it affects so many things. Like, I always come back to the example of the Oslo Accords from 1993 and 1995. Why, because they had 61, barely 61, not even a majority of Jewish members of the parliament. So because they had a majority of the parliament, they can push through legislation giving away to control of vast tracts, large percentages of the country, to creating a foreign entity, the Palestinian Authority. I mean, if that is not undemocratic, I don't know what is. So we need to agree on what the rules are. Like, for example, any foreign treaty in America has to have two-thirds approval by the Senate. Maybe we need a Senate here, maybe we need 2 houses of legislature, whatever it might be. Professor Adar, in his book here, Jewish Statesmanship, proposes a bicameral legislature, a two-body legislature, two-house legislature. Maybe we need that, but whatever we need, we have to agree on the rules and then use them. But it's important to have a Supreme Court deciding if the things meet our basic beliefs, in my opinion. A number of years ago, there was a law made that's saying that a party that is racist can't be part of the Knesset. And the reason they made this law was to keep Meir Kahana's party out of the Knesset. And I have to tell you that I don't feel that is such a democratic thing to do. I think, first of all, that it's questionable whether he was racist. But racist means that you want different treatment for different races. Not sure that that's what he wanted. But even if it was, then the place to stop something like that is if he was in the Knesset and he managed to convince the majority of people to pass some legislation that potentially could be racist, then that would be the place of the court, of a Supreme Court, to say, no, this is against our basic law. This is against our basic civil rights that we believe in, and that would be the place of the Supreme Court. And that's why we need a Supreme Court, not to pass a law, not to let the other parties who maybe just find this party be competition to them, taking away votes from them, to pass a rule deeming him racist and telling him he can't be in the Knesset. I'm not sure that his party's. I'm not supportive of his party, but I don't see what they didn't want to do was racist. Like, for example, I understand that they had suggested advancing laws to say that if non-Jewish, if Arab residents of Eretz Yisrael want to move abroad, so they should help them move abroad. Okay, you could like that policy, you cannot like that policy. I'm sure it's particularly racist. A racist is like saying that people of this race have to sit in the back of the bus or what have you. Helping people to immigrate, I don't see that as particularly racist. But let's say that the Supreme Court said it was. That would be the role of the Supreme Court to say, no, this legislation is not good because it's racist or whatever it might be. So, I would like to see, for example, let's talk about one other issue now, related. You see our Prime Minister is visiting other countries, visited Italy, he's visiting Germany. I don't know what he's talking about there, but I know that in other visits to other countries in recent years, which were related to the Abraham Accords, etc., as was revealed in the article in the New York Times several weeks ago, which I suspected before, because it was hinted at strongly in the newspapers before, that as part of a lot of these so-called peace deals, Israel sold to these countries this spyware, this very invasive spyware, which can get into your cell phone and listen to all your activities, this Pegasus programs, etc. From this GSO, I believe his name is the name of that organization, GSO or ISO, I don't know what it's called. Whatever it is, I don't believe that stuff should ever been sold to anyone, and it's a big busha, it's a big embarrassment, to put it lightly, that stuff is able to be sold to anyone. And that would be an issue for the Supreme Court also. Here, no one talks about it in the Israeli election because they all agreed to it. All the parties agreed to it. The different parties, the Ministry of Defense, who was the opposition, they all agreed to sell that stuff, which I think is totally wrong. And so I would like to see things like that come before the Supreme Court. If is it according to our basic values, the laws of privacy, etc., to allow the state of Israel to sell through the private company, but to authorize the sale of things which you almost are sure is going to be used to invade people's privacy in a very invasive way. I think that would be a thing for the Supreme Court to be involved in. So I hope that the Prime Minister isn't off in Italy and Germany, all these former fascist nations, trying to sell him more vicious spyware. I don't think that's the role of Israel in the world, and I don't think it's going to advance our interests in the world in any long-term way either. Shabbat Shalom.